Well, good morning to everyone who is joining us today. We will get started right at 8:30. Be respectful of everyone's time. And I know some of us are traveling today, so if you're watching this from China or Indonesia or any of the other places that you emailed me about, hope you're enjoying it. And if you're in the same place you've always been, well, get comfortable. We've got a lot to cover today. And we're going to start, as we always do, with a prayer. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and we'll begin. All right, this is a prayer on the importance of play. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Loving Creator, you who fashioned the universe with joy and delight, we come before you to reflect on the gift of play. In the dance of atoms and the laughter of children, we see your playful spirit at work. Teach us, Lord, to embrace this spirit in our lives. St. Ignatius taught us to find you in all things. Help us to discover your presence in moments of play, in the freedom of a game, in the creativity of art, in the wonder of exploration. When we play, we step outside ourselves, letting go of our worries and embracing the present moment. In this, we draw closer to you, eternal now. Grant us the wisdom to see play not as frivolous, but as essential to our well-being and spiritual growth. May it refresh our souls, spark our imaginations, and deepen our connections with others and with you. Let our play be a form of praise, a celebration of the joy you have woven into creation. May it remind us of your invitation to abundant life. In times of seriousness and duty, remind us of the balance you desire for us. Help us to work diligently, but also to play freely, finding in both a path to serve you. We ask this through Christ our Lord, who welcomed children and taught us to approach your kingdom with their playful spirit. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. So today is about experimentation, but a better name for that, I think, is play. And we are going to start off right away with a little interactive play, a little game I've created for you. And here are the instructions. I'm going to be splitting you into random teams this time, random breakout rooms. I'm going to give you a chance to try some of those AI tools that hopefully you've explored in our time away. And we're going to start with something very near and dear to me, which is accordions. And if you're not aware, I am an accordionist of some 30 years. I do have an album. It's on Spotify. You can check it out, or I'll show you a clip here of it later. But your challenge today is to try to stump the expert. So each team must use AI, no Googling here, unless you want to use Gemini, to find a unique and interesting fact about accordions that they believe I have never heard before. So there's the challenge, something not obvious, something you think I probably have not discovered in my 30-year journey. You're going to type it. You're going to pick one representative from your team, and when we return here, that person should copy and paste it into the chat. And you should be able to talk about the source of where you got that fact. So if I challenge you, you can defend it. If your fact has already been placed by another team, you need to have a backup. So no duplicates. And if it's already taken, find another person. All right, we're not going to use the time limit here, but I am going to split you into random teams. So say a quick hello to your teammates, talk about which facts you find, and then decide which one you would like to use as your team's fact for today's game. We're going to do that now. I'm going to split you into groups, and then we'll come back together in about somewhere between 3 to 5 minutes. So let me go ahead and I guess I have to stop sharing if I want to do split breakout groups. So here we go. We're going to auto assign you into breakout rooms. Okay, everybody should have a room. You've been auto assigned. You should have about 5 people. And go ahead and click on that room now to try today's challenge. My friends, as you return to the main room, let's find your delegate from your team and post your facts in the team chat. Most recent #1 song featuring an accordion was Carnival by Kanye West. That is a fact I did not know. Bravo, Brian, your team gets a point. This is like, whose line is anyway? The points don't exactly matter, but they're fun. During the Soviet era, the accordion was one of the few Western instruments that were not banned by the government. Yes, in fact, Russia is some of the best Slavic music, I should say, in general. Some of the best accordion music. What else we got? Accordion definitely was a specialized instrument developed in France featuring braille-like raised dots. I did not know about that. The title of the youngest professional accordion player belongs to Guyland Leday from the US. Yep, I did not know that one. Good job. Bayou Devil, did not know about that. Australian accordion teachers. Wow, these are some phenomenal facts. I'm very impressed, gang. Y'all are doing splendidly. And you also have your citations in there, which I love that you're getting to practice with that portion. So this is just a quick way to get used to doing research with AI. A lot of times people are afraid that AI is going to hallucinate. And so one of the counters to that is to look for citations or ask it for sources when you do your research. In fact, one of the up-and-coming tools that I recommend is called Perplexity. And I briefly showed you a video about what this is going to do for education with its new way of doing write-ups. But this is the research mode of Perplexity is done academia style. And I recently listened to a podcast by their CEO and founder, and it will do line-by-line citations. So the only facts it's going to give you are ones that it can support with inline citation. And so it is designed that every sentence it gives you is supported by something. This is how they have tried to counter hallucinations. And so here are just some famous facts about accordions, and it gives you where all of those came from. So I love this for research purposes. Now, I also wanted to throw out there that along with playing with the research today and as part of your next work, you might consider playing with audio AI generation. This is something I did not talk about last time. This is a shameless plug for my album on Amazon. I don't actually get paid for anything on here because I let them upload it for free, but I thought maybe we'd try a little bit. So I recorded this in 2004. We got some very international influences. So we got Spanish, we got French, and this is my latest one. Go ahead and play this one. That's my favorite part right there, about the 30-second mark. The difference between, of course, the first two that I played you and the third one is that I didn't record this on an accordion. I just typed in accordion, Celtic, and French. So those are my three generative tags that I used on this site called Udio. Udio is generative music. It can create beautiful jazz, classical, instrumental, absolutely phenomenal. This is a song I would love to personally play. I don't currently have the sheet music to it. It would be really kind of difficult to audio transcribe, but maybe we'll get a generative sheet music AI in the future, and I might drop this song in there just so I can play it myself live. So I played with this when it first came out, and I made that. I made another song. Let's see, a couple of them here. Oh, yeah. So recently I went out to visit my parents, and they have 8 grandchildren. So I had it create a little song about us. Go ahead and give that a play. Out where laughter echoes loud at the Wagner's dwelling, by vibrant fields where young ones find life so compelling. In the heart of their home, they foster dreams tenderly swelling with love that's so real, nothing more hard-winning. Wagner's raising hearts so bravely,
over time, through the seasons, turning, it's over learning.
And that was just a demonstration of the fact that it both created these lyrics and made a song to go with it. So you've got a singer, you've got the background music, you've got instantly generated, mind you, instantly. And you can create 30-second clips, you can extend them, you can kind of choose your own adventure. They'll give you a couple songs to choose from as they extend, and you pick your favorite and keep repeating the process. The prompt here was accordion. Song about the Wagner family and their 8 children. You'll notice it did not include accordion in that, but it did make me a nice pop, folk, warm, contemporary. I let it basically take the prompt and do whatever it wanted to, which created a more seamless song. And if you're starting to think already, what could I do with this? Why would I want to generate music for my class? Well, Udio is not the only one out there. You've also got Suno. I don't have an account on this one, but you can go to the homepage of Suno and you can just play some of these songs. Here on the homepage showcase is a second law of thermodynamics. So maybe you're looking for ways to connect with your kids or make your lesson more exciting. Let me go ahead and play you just a little bit of this one. No, we're not getting audio on that one. Am I not getting the audio? Okay. You might have to go to this page yourself to hear them. I'm not sure what's happening there. I'm going to go ahead and stop the share on the audio ones. You've got the lyrics here. It creates the lyrics. It creates the music. It adds the instruments. It is phenomenal. I really can't speak high enough about what this audio generation is able to do. So let me go ahead and switch gears now to a different form of generation that has come out quite recently. Make sure I'm sharing the sound, okay. And this one is video generation. So I showed you briefly that Sora, OpenAI's platform, released some absolutely lifelike generations. Well, now the free alternatives are popping up. They still haven't given us access to Sora, and I'm kind of afraid they're going to be second to the race here because other platforms have come out in the last few weeks that are pretty good, relatively speaking, to what they've got. This is just a clip of what's called Runway. This is not one that I have played with yet. I'll show you one I've played with after this. That's probably enough. You're going to be able to create on demand examples, samples, whatever story you want to tell, whatever features, characters, whatever you need. Runway Gen 3 Alpha now available. You can try this out. And as you can see, the human element is getting ultra realistic, we could say. So this is their site. The other one that came out that I did play around with was called Luma Dream Machine. And this just creates little 5-second clips. It's got massively high demand as people are playing with it. So currently limited to 5 a day. This was I thought the most interesting one that it came up with. This was a prompt they gave me and I said, sure, let's see what that produces. And you just got this kind of realistic running video here. We can imagine as this technology doubles and eventually 10x's in power, creating longer form videos and ones that are more attuned to whatever prompt you give it, without the need for really fancy prompt engineering. This one is for my daughter. She wanted to see Queen Elsa getting dressed up for the ball. She also wanted to see Daniel Tiger, and Platypus needs a little work perhaps. But again, this is free. This is the first generation that we've been allowed to use. So you can only imagine that this is the worst it's ever going to be. And there we have an actual tiger walking in the snow. Nothing that you couldn't already find on YouTube, but you've got ideas, I'm sure, that would allow you to customize this and personalize this for your classrooms. So speaking of classrooms, I really want to get back to the idea of what today is all about. Today is all about play. And I'm going to show just a few slides from a recent presentation I gave. Some of you may have already seen these. Let me share that. This kind of goes over my core philosophy of how to start to use these tools in your classroom. And we'll go ahead and play from the beginning. Okay. How you think you're using AI in school. This was directed at the children, but maybe you can take it with a grain of salt for teachers as well. The recent video talked about this idea of you wouldn't want to train people on a regular shovel if steam shovels existed. So here's the idea. Well, we have these steam shovels. We have these massively powerful tools. And we think we're using them to just make these masterpieces. Like, I'm going to use it to build a pool in my backyard. Perfect. I'm going to use it to do all of my grading, lesson planning, curriculum design. Wonderful. What actually happens the first go, usually when people just are handed something this powerful, is something more like this. And I'm sure many of you can relate to the teacher who hears about AI and it's like, oh, it can make your rubric for you. It can do that. It's like, oh, that's great. I can just sit back and I'll let the machine do it all. But unfortunately, if you're not piloting that machine well, then you're probably not going to get a great result. And you're going to end up maybe destroying more than you create of what you've already got out there. So gut reactions. A lot of your schools maybe thought about this last year. Let's just ban it. Let's just teach kids how to make the pool by hand. That's always been helpful. We've done it this way forever. Why don't we keep doing it this way? Problem is, the real world is rapidly changing and you're expected to do a lot more than you used to. Every job that's not replaced by AI will probably be enhanced by AI, is a quote that I heard. And that's kind of the reality that the real world is starting to see. You need to find a way to incorporate it in your daily lives, or you're going to start to feel like this in any job that you go to. Maybe even college for them will feel like this if they don't have the necessary tech skills to keep up with classmates or what their professors are expecting. So do we bring AI into the school in such a way that we regiment it and we plan rigidly around it and structure it? You might get a feeling of something like this. This doesn't really entice me. I honestly would rather dig holes with a shovel if this is all I'm going to be doing. And so I reimagine school using what I call the sandcastle method. I should say what school could be. Obviously, a human created these slides. What school could be? We have, honestly, what took up a lot of my childhood, and I just spent a week in California and my children followed suit. We gave them buckets and shovels and they were entranced. They didn't create something like this. They're only 4, but this is where they could go eventually. It's possible. And I would love to see them experience the world making something like this. I think that would be a valuable use of their time, playing until they reach this point, just playing in the sand. And there are ways to get you to this point. But honestly, I think we can agree that if it's making sandcastles, it's got to be in a playful mindset. I will point something out. This is the only picture in it that you just saw that actually features a girl instead of a boy. And I had to tell it to do so. So when you're considering bias in AI, AI is based on the training data it receives. And I had to specifically tell it, please give me one image with a female student. And this is the last one that it came up with. So a little side note there. What is sandcastle method in my mind? it's this idea of interacting with new learning in experiences that activate our basic instincts and kind of build from there. And then I asked chat to come up with some levels to kind of show this off, what this might look like. And no, I don't expect you to go teach your kids how to make sandcastles, but I do expect you to perhaps reimagine your own subject in a way where kids feel like they're making sandcastles. We start with just sensory play, kind of experiencing what's out there. Then we start to build and shape it. Then we start to use it for storytelling and these advanced ideas. And eventually we start to collaborate and start to build sandcastles with others. And eventually it just becomes this artistic expression and creative endeavor. And I would like to imagine us doing this with all of our subjects. I am currently doing this as we speak with AI to you. I'm trying to give it to you in a playful form. I'm not trying to give you lecture notes and here's the 12 things to do with AI and here's the 22 things to avoid. I'm trying to give you experiences where you play with it, and your homework today will be play. When we talk about deliberate play and what it looks like in high school, projects are phenomenal. Gamification, that's a dangerous word, I think. It can be gimmicky. But you can find ways, like I did with the quizzes last class, where it really does add to a lot of the making it more engaging, whatever it is you're doing. Collaborative play is wonderful. I always try to make my classes group designed. Adaptive difficulty. This is a hard one. It's something I've practiced with coaching. It's something I've practiced with teaching. But finding that optimal zone, the zone of proximal development, finding a challenge for your kids and saying, hey, see what you can do with this. That is one of those I think takes a lot of mastering. Interdisciplinary approach. I see a lot of subjects starting to just overlap with each other. You could teach physics with building sandcastles, and you could teach art with building sandcastles. You could really take that lesson anywhere, and you could personalize it and customize it how you want. Assessments is something we're going to talk about in our next class in August, which is August 6th, by the way. And then you've got a couple of others. Teachers, facilitator, something else I would like to come back to next time. So talking about how to consider yourself, your role, more as a coach or a facilitator and less as just a direct instructor of knowledge. So what would play look like? Let's apply it to our own class. I gave you a homework assignment that had 10 prompts. I came up with a new playful way of looking at each of these prompts. I don't believe these are the same as the ones I gave you. I did come up with 2 sets. So this is a different way of engaging with that same lesson, that same homework, but trying to do it more playfully. Let's create a story about a high school where students discover their teachers secretly superheroes. And we start the story where they accidentally walk in and catch a teacher using their superpowers. Or this one, design a lesson plan where students use ChatGPT to plan a surprise birthday for a historical figure. Include activities where students research the figure's life, preferences, and then generate fun party ideas. We've turned history, a historical presentation on a figure, into something more playful. Personally, I like my favorite one, this one. Let's participate in a debate, but let's make it fun. Should unicorns be allowed to attend high school? We come up with arguments for and against. We use that as our launch pad, whatever it is we're doing. So here are just some playful ideas, and you can always pause this if you're watching the video later. Look at these if you'd like more on them. And then we've got more than that. In fact, I've created 50 play ideas to use with your AI assistants, and this I did post already on Educate Modus. So you have access to this. I'm going to hopefully give you some time to do these ideas, to play with these ideas at the end of class today, and also at home in your own time. But these are games. These are just literally find ways to play with the AI. And the reason you need to do this, and there is a reason, is that for most people, about an hour with an AI tool is all they need to feel competent. And about 10 hours feels like they've mastered it. That tends to be the case right now, is what we're finding. So once you've spent 10 hours just playing around with something, you feel very comfortable moving in and using it for work. So lesson planning or assignment or curriculum building. Some of you are asking about that in our questions before. And I think it's extremely important you do play. I believe it is the fastest way to learn. And you can challenge me on that. I'm welcome to engage in that debate, but try it with these AI tools. Try some of these and tell me that you haven't started figuring things out by the end of a play session. And not only that, that you enjoyed it. That's, for me, the more important piece is if you want kids to learn quickly, you want to engage them. So as I said, this is now found under module 2 on Educate Modus. Down here, we've got 50 deliberate play ideas. And right here is tonight's homework assignment. And we've got 5 categories for uploading. This is a 2-part assignment. I'm going to come back to that in about 10 more minutes here. Well, 20 more minutes. Let's go ahead and switch because I got a lot to still get through. And let's go into these generative AI tools. So that was ChatGPT. Let's go ahead and check out the GPT store and custom GPT models. This is a list of all the custom GPTs that I've created since they came out in November. So that's about 6 months ago. As we can see here, some of you, it looks like 55 chats already on the Adaptable Educator. Some of you tried out one of my models. I created this specifically to help guide teachers. I also created a more fun and playful version of that called the Teacher Coach, where it tries to simulate scenarios and give you feedback on that. This is a link I will send out after today's class. But I wanted to walk you through some of these. I already showed off a few in that video that I recorded last November, which is when I first created these. Now we've had about 6 months to play. So let's start with this one. This is the one I'm going to be using next week. This is called Field Hockey Coach Swagner. I use this for all of my assistant coaches. And I have 10 assistant coaches working this summer. One of them, shout out, are you in the chat room right now? I won't call you out unless you want to. Oh, I see a chat. Boom, there she is. Coach Mom has already used this GPT to help plan our summer sessions. And I said for next week, we're going to be focused on shrinking the field, work on positioning, decision-making. Give me a 2-hour training session. And I have pre-planned this custom GPT model like a custom tutor on Flint. I showed that off last class, so that it automatically creates fun games. I always teach field hockey through games, through play. I do not do drills. It says dribbling drills in here. Unfortunately, I haven't perfected this one, but good enough. It says dribble in a confined space. I'm going to probably take that idea and change it, tweak it my own. But the main activities are great. We've got a 3v3 mini game. We're going to be dividing to small fields. We're going to focus on quick passes, maintaining possession, effective positioning, talk about the coaching points, and gives me a time. Let's go about 5 minutes on these. That's pretty reasonable. I'd probably shorten that a little, but this is a good starting point. Like everything it gives me, I'm going to, of course, put a human in the machine. I'm not just going to take it for fact. We've got a half-field scrimmage that it recommends we end with here, and then it says cool down. I didn't like that, so I said, hey, redo that. Instead of cool down, let's do another game. I'd like to fit in 4 games. So it rewrote it, and it gave me a finished product here. This one is a 5-pass game. Okay, 5 to 7 players. We're doing 5 consecutive passes, so this is keep away. And these are all good game ideas. Like I would do all of these at some point in my coaching. I may not use this exactly, but I'm definitely going to use this as inspiration and a starting point. And not only that, this is my brain put to paper for all 10 of my assistant coaches. They're not doing the same things I'm doing. They're all using this AI to come up with their ideas for their groups that they're coaching. So each one of them will put this in before practice and kind of work out some ideas for what they want to work on. And it takes what used to be about an hour, maybe an hour and a half planning session down to roughly 5 minutes. This takes them 5 minutes, and it gives them wonderful, good thought out ideas, and it's well written. It's a game changer for my coaching world and for them. Would you agree with that, Coach Mom? Game changer? See what she has to say. Jumping into the next one, we have the Adaptable Educator. Many of you have already tried this. I hope I've sent it out as an optional thing. Now that you have free access to GPTs, which is something I have waited 6 months for, I haven't made many of these since November because nobody could access them. So now I can make them and give them out to people, which is awesome. It says, all right, give me some background information. A good way to personalize content is start with the AI asking you questions. Get content about the user to customize what it says next. So I said, all right, I do these things. It says, great. Let's talk about a 9th and 12th grade math teacher with 24 kids looking to increase engagement. And it'll give you some ideas for that. Okay, and these are all things we've talked about. I just talked about project-based learning. I just talked about gamification, interactive learning, personalizing learning, right? It's going to give you some ideas. Here's a sample week plan: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I don't know how good it is. I haven't really gone into detail on this, but it gave me one for 9th and 12th grade samples. And then, of course, says, all right, where do we go from here? What do you want to do next? So that's just one way I might start to get ideas for my classroom, the same way I would get ideas for my field. But this is something I've actually sent to non-teachers, and they've used and said this was really fun and helpful. I use this to just talk about how to help parent my children. This is a scenario creator, and creating fun interactive scenarios is an exceptional tool. Ethan Mullock is a professor at Wharton in Pennsylvania, and he has spent years developing advanced simulations, and he's absolutely crushing it with the AI simulations that he's creating for his college students. His most famous one being the startup pitch generator, where he's got multiple AI agents giving his students feedback. This is a generator for scenarios for teachers. I teach high school. Here's the same thing. It's math, 9th and 12th graders. I'm pretty competent with tech. All right, here's your scenario. How would you respond? What would you do in this situation? Take your time. I said, you know what? I just teach my lessons the same as always. I've got to go through all the curriculum. It's a lesson or two a day. You know how fast we got to go. And it's like, okay, I think you need improvement. I think you have not thought through this new technology. You are not being creative to support diverse learners. You're not showing individual empathy for students. There's a lot of best practices that can be applied here. So it gives me areas for improvement. It offers a revised approach. It's like, what if you thought about doing this? And then it says, let's go ahead and try again. Let's keep playing. Play the game. Keep playing the game. If you want to look at one of my superpowers that I will claim, it is that I am really good at playing games. I get addicted. I play video games. I play board games. I play sports. I play anything that lets me play. And so when I think about AI's use cases, I try to create games and simulations and ways to play. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just create useful tools. Once I've played, I will start to think about, okay, let's make things more specific. This is my Java tutor for my computer science A class that I taught last year. And it has a couple of things. I said, let's review recursion. So it's like, okay, recursion. Yeah, let's do a little basics on recursion. It knows that we're doing Java, so it automatically does Java. Gives a breakdown of all the code. And then it gives you a nice review question with 5 answer choices, just like the AP test. And I specified that when I created this because I wanted something very streamlined to my class. Here are the actual instructions when you create a custom GPT. I am not sure if free users can create them. I know you can use them. I'm not sure if you can create them. Somebody could answer that in the chat. I'm curious about that. But here's how to create them. Yeah, I didn't think you could. Don't press the create button unless you're brand new. If you've never done it before, press create. You can try it out. It'll walk you through and auto make everything. Flint does that. It auto makes it for you. Flint, I think, is pretty good. This is not that great, but it's okay to experiment with. I prefer to name it, describe it, and create all the instructions myself. That's me. You do as you please. I don't recommend the create button, though, when you get anything more advanced than the first hour. So I say, if you're going to explain a concept, here's what I want you to do. When we review, I want you to make sure you give 5 answer choices. Don't give the correct answer until the user offers it. That's important when you're creating these custom tutors. Be like, how much answering do you want to give? And then I tell it how to go up if they get it wrong, or horizontal scaling. And then grading. For grading, I will sometimes drop a user's coding into this. I'll say, hey, give me an assessment on this. This is straight from the AP CSA guide for how they grade the test. So I just copied and pasted all that and said, yep, do all these things, because that's what they're going to do on the AP test. And give these little 1-point penalties. And don't give penalties for missing parentheses, stuff like that. So these are the instructions. It's good to have a conversation starter. A lot of times people just don't know what to do when they create one of these. Down here, you can turn on or off abilities. You need to have code interpreter if you want the people to create files or download them, but that's auto off by default. This allows them to make pictures, and this allows it to browse the web if it needs to look up something. You can turn these on and off as you wish. You can also upload custom files. So if there's things you want it to always have access to, like, hey, this is the samples, couple samples here, let me put those in. I would recommend when you create these things, I would recommend you give examples. I haven't shown it off here, but something that would be very smart for me to do would be to write down here, example. And then you put in exactly what you want it to look like. That is the difference maker between a great custom GPT and kind of a okay one. So I'm not going to publish this, but you can publish this to just yourself or to people at large. And to answer your question of when would you use custom versus Flint, many of you don't have Flint. So I would use it anytime I have students who have access to free GPT-4 through this, and I can create custom tutors for my class and they can use it. This is a custom test creator. You don't have to get all fancy like I did on that tutor. This one just says, I want a custom 20-question multiple choice test. As soon as I drag and drop a student's file for something that they've coded, I want to create a custom multiple choice test. I showed this off in that video from November. So you down here, you can just upload files. You can drag and drop them in. And as soon as I drop their project in here, it'll make a custom test based on the project they made. I do that to make sure they understand their projects and they're not just having the AI make it for them. So there's a very simple custom GPT, but I use this one every single time that I made tests in that class. So I got a lot of use out of it. And again, you got to pay 20 bucks a month for this. Remember, you don't have to keep it paying every month. You could make a couple custom GPTs and then probably cancel your account and they would save your custom models in the GPT store. I don't think it deletes them just because you're no longer a paid user. So something to think about there. The last thing to point out is that there is a massive store of GPTs now, like the App Store for your phone. And a lot of these that are trending, the students will find and they'll try. You should be aware. You should be aware that Write For Me and Humanize AI will make human sounding writing, and they are good, folks. I've seen them in action. They are quite good. So your students know this. They know these are free now. Wolfram is one that I'd highly recommend. That is the best math coding out there. And then, of course, if you want to get into programming, you don't have to. This used to be a very popular one, but now we've got Copilot in here. So a couple of good programming ones as well. And you can go on the education side. You can see all the different ones there. We're not going to go into them in detail. The thing I am going to go into in detail is the last thing that came out in the last 2 weeks, and that is Claude. Where are we, Claude? Let me find the screen. Claude. Okay. I am super excited about Claude. Claude just updated. 3.5 Sonnet is the most recent addition. And it is quick, it is smart, and it has artifacts, which I'm going to show off. But first, I want to show off a game I created this week because I was playing with Claude. I want to get to about 10 hours of using the new Claude before I feel comfortable with it. I'm at about maybe 6 right now. One of the hours I spent playing this game, I just typed in accordions. Then I typed in accordions again. It's like, what? Well, I can give you more on accordions. And then I said, accordions, excited. I see you're enthusiastic about accordions. Let's find some unique things about this. And it started going off. Then I started changing punctuation. Accordions. Okay. Accordions. Ellipse. Accordions, period. And accordions, colon. At this point, I see you've added a colon. This could suggest you're about to provide a list or definition. It started to act differently. Started to change what it gave me as its response. And now I was having fun. I was like, all right, what about semicolon? Okay. What about money? Oh, yeah. Dollar sign. Sure. Let's talk about how expensive accordions are. Accordions and what do they pair well with? Oh, they're often paired with guitars, drums, violins. Accordions acts. Okay, so we're talking about online context here. Sure, here's some online communities. There's our accordion on Reddit. So my game here was just change the punctuation at the end of a word and see how it changed its responses. This engaged me for half an hour. I was just trying accordions greater than. It's like, okay, you want a comparison now. And it started giving me concertinas, button accordion, piano accordion, the buy-in. So I kept going with this. And this is a game I invented on the fly after I noticed what it was doing. Likewise, I asked it for some of the ideas on how best to use Claude. So these are good things to just keep in mind whenever you're dealing with an AI. Natural conversation is great. You should talk to it as you would a human, but I would say, add into this, tell it what kind of human to be. Say, hey, you're an accordion enthusiast, or you're an accordion instructor or historian, and then have your conversation. Like, tell it how you want it to act. The best thing you can do is tell it to be the person you are, because often you want it to respond to things that are relevant to your own life. You are a high school teacher at a Jesuit prep college prep school, and then follow that conversation up. That's my personal favorite. Don't forget, you can ask multiple things at a time. You don't have to limit yourself to one question. You often want it to limit to one answer. That's for like tutoring and stuff. Don't forget that Claude does not have internet access, so it currently has a cutoff date in April. Keep that in mind. Keep in mind you can do multiple languages. I'm going to use this feature in my next sample. But I will go back to tell you, I got those 50 deliberate play ideas from Claude 3.5. Here's my prompt. Give ideas for deliberate play. Claude or ChatGPT. The audience is teachers, but the activities don't necessarily have to be education specific. And it gave me about 15. And I said, great, keep going. And I ended up getting 50. Now you'll notice here, Claude has a new thing on the side that is called artifacts. You have to turn this on under your settings. You have to go to the lab and turn on artifacts. You'll see this right here. I have an experimental feature at the bottom enabled. And it will give me now a place where it stores all of the information it makes. This is huge. You do not understand how game-changing this actually is. And I'll give just a few examples. I'm still playing. I'm only 6 hours in. But it will now store everything as you're working on it. And it will give you versions. And it will let you copy those and download those. Speaking of copy, I mentioned to someone, when you highlight and you right-click copy, and then on your new place, like your Microsoft Word, you go paste. You have paste options here. You always want to do merge. If you copy off of ChatGPT or Claude and you do merge, it will merge formatting to what you want in your Word document or your Google document. You can try hitting copy, but often you end up getting like weird hashtags and formatting stuff. You can also hit download to see what kind of files you can get. Claude will download as an HTML file. I'll use that in a feature here. But first I said, let's play. Let's play. You are a dungeon master for a game of D&D. You should make your plan in a different language, then give me instructions in English so I don't know what you're planning. Whenever you roll the dice, take the current timestamp and divide it mod 20. Little math for you here, in order to generate the number, excuse me, and use that as the result. So it said, oh, compris. I'm not going to try to French on camera here, but it's going to start to explain what it's planning in French and then give me my English instructions. That way I don't automatically know what it's about to do as the DM. But AIs do much better when they plan things out first and then execute, than if you just let them kind of go off of their predictive nature. So that's a little tip and trick. I said, all right, I want a character sheet. Give me detailed, fun, lots of backstory, all that. Over here on the side, we've got a detailed character sheet. Very detailed. It gave me everything I needed. All right, level 5, half-elf, rogue, trickster, background, it's an urchin, chaotic good. It rolled all my modifiers for me, gave me all my proficiencies, proficiency in stealth, and a nice, lovely backstory, personality, and appearance. It generated all this in 5 seconds. It's my least favorite part of playing D&D is writing stuff up, just the maintenance side of things. So it started me off in the scenario after making this character sheet. Okay, we're gonna start going. I was like, all right, can I have a map of the local area? Yeah, sure, why not? Here's a map of the local area. Created me a generative map. There's an ancient cave. Here's Shadowdale, Silver Moon. There's some Misty Mountains and the Whispering Woods. It's obsessed with the Whispering Woods. It's the peeve of mine. So it gave me a little description of all these areas as it generated that map visually for me. I said, okay, we're going adventuring in the cave. Let's check out some markings. It tells me how it's using the formula I gave it. This will not create true randomness. This always tries to make you happy. So if you say play D&D with me, you will succeed every single time. I'm trying to find ways to make it fail because that's more fun and interesting. So it did actually, I hope, use this formula correctly, but I'm still playing, so we'll see if that works out. I go into the cave. I try to sneak. It says, all right, let's go ahead and do that. And it references my artifact here on the side. You'll notice it says, I remember that in this artifact, you have a dexterity modifier +4. You get proficiency. We're assuming it's a +3 at level 5, and you have stealth, which I do. So we'll go ahead and double your proficiency bonus because of that. And then it does all the math for me, adds it all up. This is a game I could keep playing for the next 2 hours. Honestly, it's highly engaging. It's very fun, and it will keep generating things for me. Previously, I opened a chest and created an artifact that put all the chest contents over here and kept it stored for me. So you can keep creating these artifacts where it will write these up and store them for you. You can also, when you create these, you can create projects where you drag and drop your own artifacts in there to start with, and then it creates all of its chats using that information. I would like to show off this, which is something that I spent about 2 hours on, maybe less. This says 29 versions, but this is a project I made where I wanted to create a video game. And Claude can now run code in its artifact mode. There is a code option that will show me the code, but there's also the preview option. So I started with, and I do have to actually change some things on my keyboard, so this will run. Let me see if I can get it to work. I started with this. Little fog of war, little running around. And I was like, okay, that's kind of fun for my 4-year-old. She really had a good time playing this. But I want to keep going, and I did. And I kept making new versions, and I eventually evolved it. Now, so it started to have enemies, and I kept going and debugging and advancing. And this says 29, but it was actually about 46 versions later. Keeping in mind, this would write 300 lines of code in about 30 seconds. So it would rewrite this entire game. And eventually I got something and I had it download an HTML file. I'm going to send this out to all of you in case you're interested in trying it out. And I got a very playable game that's a roguelike with 10 levels, a little exploration, some combat. Oops, I messed up my spacebar button, so this enemy is actually probably going to kill me. No, okay. And we have just a basic adventure game that lets you explore and combat and collect items. And my spacebar is not working, so unfortunately my keyboard is messed up right now. I won't show you off the rest of that. I can use this to create and plan assignments. In fact, I use this to create your homework assignment. Here it is. I'm going to have you play with a tool for 1 hour. You can choose your category: video, audio, fiction writing, nonfiction writing. That involves research or coding. You will need to pay for Claude to use the experimental features. You should note most AIs, after about 6 months, everything's free. But that first 6 months when they come out with it, you pay the 20 bucks if you want access. And here's what it came up with here on the side. This is my artifact. You can see this is the 5th version. I had it revise this many times until I finally got the version I wanted. Then I downloaded it, I copied it into ChatGPT, and I saved it. I had Chat give it to me as a PDF. So it will give you files if you ask for files. It will turn whatever you have into the file type that you want. Next time, I'll use this rubric for assessing your assignments. I had it create a rubric using that tool that I dropped in here as an artifact. There's the assignment right there. I dropped that in as a PDF and I said, all right, now I want you to make me a rubric. And so it did. And I'll make more versions of this perhaps, but this is how you can start to create new assessments. If you're uncomfortable with that, if you're like, I don't know how to grade people playing. Well, there's lots of ideas, and Chat and Claude will come up with many, many more ideas for you if you don't have them yourselves. So I have about 5 minutes here reserved at the end of this. I'm going to go ahead and stop share. I wanted to give some time for Q&A today. And I have lost my video. Hopefully y'all can y'all still see my face? Anyway, I want to give time for Q&A. because I know some of you don't want to type those questions online. Anything that you're interested in that I can expand on a little bit from today's talk, keep in mind your homework assignment is posted on Educate Modules. So you can find that there now if you're interested in opening it up and trying some of that out. Okay, please re-explain artifact. So artifact is basically the custom GPT version of Claude. Claude came out with it last week. You have to enable the feature under your settings. And once you do, it will store whatever it creates for you. It won't just fill in a chat window. It won't just keep chatting. It'll actually write up a document and put it to the side, or it will write code and then it'll put that code to the side and it'll run the code live in your browser. It changes the way that coding's done. I mean, I could have spent 8 hours making that game. I spent an hour and a half because it kept running the versions and I could experiment, I could play with them. And that's what artifacts do. So check out, go to YouTube if you want. People have made full videos on how to enable Claude, how to use Claude artifacts. You don't need to watch me specifically use it. There are wonderful tutorials on there. I do recommend you check out. Yeah, so an artifact is just a panel on the side of your screen that lets you store all of these different artifacts that you create. They could be PDF files, they could be code files, they could be maps. I've had it made a map for me. It made a map. All right, other questions from today. Yeah, Claude will tell you that until you enable the experimental feature. It will say, I don't know what artifacts are. You can't make me. But if you enable the experiment feature, then it will suddenly know what an artifact is. Audio generation programs are listed under the homework, but they are Udio and Suna. I think it's Suna or Suno. I can't actually ever remember the difference. It is Suno, yeah. So they're listed under the homework if you want to check that out. I've listed the tools that I showed off today under the assignment. How do I do that? Can you specify what that is, Franco? You might need a paid version. If you don't have a paid version of Claude, you may not be able to enable artifacts. I don't think you can. Oh, you do have a paid version? Okay. Yeah, check out, let me see if I can find this setting for you really quickly. Click on Feature Preview. Feature Preview. I will go ahead and share that screen right here so you all can see. Okay, so Feature Preview is right here under my name, Feature Preview. And there you can see artifacts turned on. And it explains a little bit of what they are. Also, Claude has projects. So if you want to start a new project, you can. You go to Projects, say New Project, name your project. Oops. Oh, that's why it wasn't working. I have my number lock on. Okay, sci-fi book. What are you trying to achieve? Write a YA sci-fi book. And I'll create a new project. And in here now, it lets me put some custom instructions for this, like always write for a young audience. Also use Shakespearean language. Spelling doesn't matter. It knows what I'm talking about. Give me a sample introduction. Okay, we'll see what it does here. Ah, yeah, there we go. So it's writing me a sci-fi YA novel. Okay, give me an artifact of chapter 1. Let's see if it does that. Okay. So artifacts, boom. And you can see there, do you see my pet peeve here? The Whispering Woods, every time. I have no idea what's the obsession with the Whispering Woods. But there you go, it created the artifact. Now let's rewrite that with more danger. Okay, and you're gonna see down here, it's gonna give me a new artifact and it's gonna say version 2. This saves my work. So I don't have to see version 2, I can switch between them when it's done. I can go back and forth between all of my artifacts that it's created. and I can download any one of them that I want, or I can add them to the current project. So I can be like, oh yeah, that's the good chapter. That's the one that I want. I'm going to go ahead and add that chapter to the project. For content creation, for creating with this, it's incredible. Absolutely incredible. And I've only played with it for a couple of hours. Okay, so let's go ahead and stop sharing screen. And I think that brings us to the end of class. So thank you all for attending today. Please do post your questions on the Educate Modus board. You'll see I've replied to everyone so far. So put your stuff there. And you do want to upload your new content for tonight's homework, which is to play with one of these for an hour. Part 2 of the assignment says write a short little reflection on your process. So it's a 2-parter, and I've given you instructions on how to upload that material. Okay, but that'll do it for today. So thank you all for coming. We will see you next time. I believe that is August 6th. I'll send an email out the day before.